Hello, this is Bharat. Welcome to this fourth video in the series. I'm going to discuss yet another technical topic today. It's servers, and I would request you to go through the first three videos. This is 40 minutes long, but you can fast forward it and finish it in fewer minutes. Again, I started this and realized that I was signed in and I was giving away my email and so on. So Comet browser versus Atlas. That's what I've said, and that's what I'd like to introduce you to. If you don't know about this already, it's already these products are already there. So I don't know why I have to use. I have to keep using Google, where I'm not allowed to have this removed if I wanted. And ultimately, in the end, as we saw yesterday, AI is being rigorously implemented at various organizations, at various levels, and so on and so forth. So yesterday was that's what we came across, right? So there's a lot of it that you can find out for yourself, and it's best I don't get into such issues for obvious reasons. And we have all sorts of concerns around use of AI and how it will be in the coming time and so on and so forth. So there'll be a day where there'll be no question of opting out of it. So talking about these things, so many things here. So how the story of disk operating system or DOS, MS DOS, Microsoft DOS, and then we could talk about things I've put here. I discussed some academic resources yesterday. The Critical Tradition by Richer. That's open Yale courses. I've already talked about these things on in other videos, and let's go through something very particular. I wanted to tell you about this. Coup got closed, and Burger King had a suit against an Indian eatery, fast food place. You should be aware of these things. Again, this is related to intellectual property, and this will be of use to you on the exams that we are talking about. And you have to know about these things in any case. So today I would like to take up the topic of servers. How is it useful for these exams? It is useful because it covers things like Internet of Things. Internet of Things is one of the things I've mentioned, and it is useful because that is basic computer technology. And if you don't know about these things in 2026, you are losing out on a lot of things that I would rather you didn't. So how do we go about it? What am I doing here? Am I doing these things because I don't have time, or am I doing these things because I would like you to see how I'm doing this, and so on? So this kind of thing, you can run your own. Yeah, so this is what I was searching yesterday. It's an expose. So Linux sandbox machine sandboxing. What's sandboxing in terms of computer science or IT? That could be a question. And what's IP? What's here? It is different internet protocol. What's the difference between IPv4 and IPv6? And then you have Anglo-Saxon poetry corpora. That's corpus. That's what I searched. It's Clarin, the resource Clarin. So I came across this here to accredit them, or to give them credit, not accredit them. I don't think that's the correct usage. And this is the second thing. Yes, sacredtexts.com, of course, I knew before I visited it from Clan yesterday. And I am saying these things because I have to secure what I have been doing and what is due to me. So anyway, you will come across these things yourself. You will have to deal with these things yourself as you enter a profession, or you further in your academic pursuits and so on. So Coup and startups and Burger King being other examples. If you read questions from here, you will benefit immensely. GMAT official guide is what I'd recommend. Previous year questions. Again, it's a lot of weightage to what's been asked because that's where it's coming from. That's what my emphasis is. Okay, this applies to all sorts of exams, not just one particular exam, not just one particular format. So previous year questions. That's something that you will have as your focus. As your focus. If you have to read just one thing, go through them, and around these build your knowledge and practice and everything else. So how would GMAT previous year questions help? This helps in critical thinking, critical analysis, critical reading, and knowing about real world problems. Real world problems is what you have when you're talking about management. So you're actually talking about how you manage resources, how you avoid waste, and how you go about doing things in the most optimal manner in a given context. Okay, the maths is optimization, and we'll talk about that some other day maybe. Yeah, so you can learn Linux online, and yeah, that's sandboxing is something. Sandboxing meaning, okay, sandboxing. Practice of isolating pieces of software so that it can access only certain resources, programs, and files within a computer system so as to reduce risk of errors or malware affecting the rest of the system. So you have a link, and you want to visit the site. You don't know what site will be, what risks there are. You would want a sandboxed environment. So virtual machines are sandboxed. Yes or no? Yes. AI says it's yes. Okay. So I wouldn't. I will request you to read about sandboxing from Python docs. So about that sandboxing features. So PyPy sandboxing features, and this is getting too technical for us, but something like dictionary of computer science terms. Develop a dictionary. That'd be great. That'd be a great resource. That's GitHub, of course, and that's a nice picture, right? So sandboxing, we should find it here. A testing environment that isolates untested code changes and outright experimentation from the production environment or repository in the context of software development, including web development and revision control. So revision control, repository, untested. Yeah, so untested code is easy enough, but production environment is when a website is live, or when uh, software is given to a user to use it as he or she will. Software development, web development. I'm testing my website in a safe environment, and I'm not testing my website where users are already logged in and using resources on the HTML pages or other any other resources that I've provided. They're not attempting a test here, for example, right? That kind of thing. That'll be a live environment. So revision control is I want this to be maroon instead of black. So I revise my code, and I want to keep track of those changes. And I want to be able to switch from one to other, back and forth, as required. So that is revision control, and that's what GitHub is. It's a revision control system, or sorry, version control system, VCS, version control system. Okay, so here we are. It's a great dictionary for sure. It is awesome. Right. I can say that because of having looked at this. This is the first time I'm looking at this dictionary. Okay, this resource. So, what did I search? I searched dictionary of computer science terms. Now, one of the things I've mentioned is dictionary in the slides. Dictionary of arguments. I'll come to the parentheses in a moment. Excuse my however you want to put it. But yeah, dictionary of arguments, I think. Yes, this is the one. It's a great resource. Let's say let's see if there is Wittgenstein. It is here. Counter arguments against Wittgenstein. That's what you got here. I would invite you to explore this on your own. I've given you the resource, okay? Dictionary of Arguments, Philosophy Dictionary of Arguments, Philosophy, Sciences, Humanities, Controversies.com. That's the site. Take note of that, okay? Now, this. Why have I done this? You could attach any number of labels to this kind of expression. Dictionary of arguments, whose brain, my brain, that's sort of written, whose brain, my brain. If you search it, AI might give you something on it and everything. I don't want to waste time with AI. It's a waste of time for sure when you are not, for example, earning 10 times what you're earning or 100 times what you're earning without AI. So that kind of thing. So time value of use of AI, you could argue about that. Okay. Whose brain, my brain? So a few days ago at another site, I searched brain computer interface and poetry. There's scholarly articles. Of course, you could have a look at that, and I could talk about these things. And in deference, DEFERENC, in deference to their hard work and the time, I'll refrain from talking about these things. These people's hard work, time, and everything that they put in. It's a lot of um, how should I put it? Organic stuff that goes into coming up with these things, and of course, a lot of cleverness as well. And we can go on talking about it, but it's in deference to these people. I'll avoid talking about this. Poetry mentally engages more experts. I'll have to visit the link. They're talking about mental workload, and again, it's going into things that you may or may not want to talk about, that I may or may not want to talk about. So it's about fish versus the quote from Einstein about fish versus um, yeah, fish climbing a tree and fish in water. So that's not something new. It's something ancient repackaged. That is one thing that you must understand. something repackaged. I've said literary theory repackaged version of literary criticism. So, for example, how much of what you see today is the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, that kind of thing. That's why I've given you something like this. That's why I'm talking about philosophy instead of talking about. That's why I'm talking about mathematics instead of talking about the nth derivative of some mathematical branch. The roots are in abstract algebra. The manifestation is in. So I believe I am. I have no idea about this level of mathematics. I did have a lot of mathematics in my studies. I have a degree in engineering. Again, my apologies for repeating this, but abstract algebra, and then on top of that, linear algebra, if I'm not mistaken. So, whatever there is in abstract algebra that may or may not have been discovered is manifested in linear algebra. And people are very happy with borrowing stuff from one domain and using it to create an empire of sorts and call it another domain. So you could go on talking about. I'll give you an analogy, right? So question is, how is linear algebra connected with abstract algebra? AI will have answers. I could have asked this to Wolfram Alpha, right? Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram has written a blog post on how GPT works, ChatGPT works. Well, if you have not read it, and there is Ray Kurzweil. I'm not sure the singularity. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. Maybe Kurzweil is nearer after there was AI. I think this was written. The point is, I got it from HCL founder recommends Kurzweil's book. Let's check what. Okay, now where did I get this? I got this from here. So to give credit where it's due. Okay. Yeah, whatever it has to say there. It says it's gone through transcript and that Ajay Chowdhry discusses AI technology and so on and so forth. So information retrieval again. You could go through. No, this one. Tech sovereignty, AI, rare earth, and so on. So one of the good things that Shri Chaudhary has said is that rare earths, rare earth metals, if you don't know about them, they can be extracted from electronic waste that we have instead of going for mines and mining and so on. Mining will take time, but I think the figure is 40%, 40% can be covered from, if I remember all of that correctly. This is from days ago. I'm quoting, I did not revise it or anything, but he says that 30 to 40% is going to be covered by what we get from electronic waste. So go ahead and buy new electronic devices so that we can contribute to electronic waste, which can uh, have us extracted from these rare earth metals. Okay. I have a degree in engineering, which is in electronics, so I can see the cycle in motion, kind of. Okay. So anyway, that's one thing I'd recommend. Thanks to Srimati Prakash, I guess. Yeah, thanks to Smita Prakash. Thanks to Smita. You presumably do know about HCl. If you don't know about HCl, I I most humbly plead to you to find out about HCl. Okay. Yeah, I have known this. Of course, it depends on when, what you are, millennial or whatever the new um, Gen Z or whatever it is that non fungible tokens in knowledge economy will require you to, I mean, speak like. But please go through HCL, the story of HCL, and find out more about Ajay Chowdhry and HCL and Smita Prakash, ANI podcast, and so on. So I've given you pointers. That's why, I mean, that's one reason I would not recommend you to watch my videos and go for these other videos or series or podcasts and so on. Anyway, brain computer interface, poetry, and Neuro Dante, biomedical poet, audiovisual. I don't know. So many things about it. AI, neuroscience, and magical consciousness. See, see the terms it's put in magical consciousness. That's because it's a popular pop science kind of. It's made for general audience and so on. That's why the combination and so on and so forth. And I've been saying that one should be very alert. One should be alert when it comes to use of metaphors. That's what language is. That's all language is, I guess. This is taking it to an extreme, but yes, that's all language is. Metaphors. The speed of human thought, implications from so many things you can think about. I can come up with other so many things there. I don't want to get into all of this, but I've given you an idea. So, for example, you could read about these things here. I don't know what DNA dana is. See, one of the things Chaudhary says in the podcast is that this will get downloaded. You won't have to remember things. Everything will get downloaded into your brain, and that's how it's going to happen. This is through brain-computer interfaces. So you will have a chip, and you'll have a chip that'll augment. That is how I'm supposed to speak, I guess. Again, my homage to non-fungible tokens and knowledge economy. But yes, it's supposed to augment you, and you have science fiction telling you it can go berserk, and if you want a concrete example, yes. So this is very much about brain-computer interfaces and so on. And there is an incident where it does go berserk, and it uh, gets corrupted. It gets corrupted. I don't have to give you this if this is because I'm Indian, because I'm from India. This is because we are talking about the Indian context. One of the observers call these things jingoist. I don't call this thing anything. I don't even watch such films. I could give you so coming back to brain computer interfaces, neurotechnology, devices, poetry. I have one other source that I refrain from mentioning. I will probably never mention it, but as they say never. Dictionary of arguments is one good thing that I'd like you to peruse, and the rest is up to you. Sandboxing is another vocabulary term I have given you. Now, there are two ways to go about this: doing the same thing over n number of months, and doing the same thing over n divided by m number of months, where m is greater than m, n, and so on. That's how I speak because that's what I've had for years and years. And yesterday, by the way, I said x by n, and then I said 80%, and then I said 1 by 4, it's 1 by 5. So do pardon me for this. And I don't, I mean, I wasn't I mean, I was not even thinking about it. Okay. So, point being, there are two ways to go about this thing, two ways to go about vocabulary. One is going over the thing over a number of months. The other one is having it downloaded in your brain. Right now, since the latter is not possible yet, we will try to fit it in as much amount of time, as little amount of time as we can. That's what happens when you, for example, when you're preparing for exams, when you have little time. Now, to give you the reality, that's where it's coming down from. I've already talked about Jap- Japanese exercise, military exercise, in which robot dogs were used, and it's been going on for years. As I've indicated, there's Boston Dynamics, for example, in America, right? So if you find out more about this, I know this for a fact. This happens in a very short amount of time. It's very rigorous, and I could give you a name. I can give you a name. And military training is, I mean, is as rigorous as rigorous gets, right? So anyway, yes, how U.S. military linguists learn languages fast. The point is, it's a lot of, it's extreme hard work in a very short amount of time. So language learning, as you know, is something that you can go on doing for your life, or it's something that you 64 weeks to fluency, how military linguists learn their craft. US Department of War. Okay, so that's very serious stuff, and that's commitment, as a devotee would be committed to God, if that makes sense to you. You could read about these things, and you could choose your own army. It doesn't have to be US Army, British Army. It doesn't have to be Chinese army. It doesn't have to be Indian army. You can choose your own army. Army is the pride of a nation. So I can give you Latin there. You have to know Latin, by the way, if you're learning English. And okay, I don't know the spelling. Okay, so I still don't know Latin. I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting this. So blessed are the warriors, and that reminds me. I don't want to be Polonius, and I don't want to, I mean, like, go along those lines. But yes, Latin phrasebook, Latin proverbs, Latin proverb. This is the kind of thing you will find such things in libraries. The thing is, library is the word. Okay. Okay. I must make sure that I'm not giving out things I must not give out. So yeah, nice libraries there. Nice libraries out there. This is a very nice library. I can vouch for this. So coming back to what we were discussing, Latin proverbs and Greek proverbs and ancient proverbs in Greek and Latin and Sanskrit. If such a work does not exist, that is a good idea for you to work on. Sanskrit proverbs go on. By the way, I would give you another name. You should listen to this person. Yes, that is another person you should listen to, apart from Chaudhry. So this is your staple. This kind of thing. Here is your staple. Not this, not the. So if you were to choose between text and images, choose text. Okay, this is what I said when I was discussing databases. Go for text. Okay, that will help you on exam. That will help you with a lot of things. Again, this is about reading, brain cells, recycling. You could go on and on. No results found. Neuron recycling. You can find out about these things. Neuron recycling. It says it's a hypothesis, which is all very well, and you could find out more about this. You can see the names out there. You're talking about John Hopkins medicine and so on. So I'll leave it for you. That's further work for you, and we'll get back to servers. I've not been able to. I've not been discussing servers. Yeah. So servers types. I'll just give you hands-on. Okay, linode. You go here. You look at. Wow. Documentation. That's what I wanted. Okay. So Linode or Akamai, it's been acquired by Akamai, so it's changing all of that branding and cloud computing. You have three ways to access this: graphical user interface, I can read that there, even if you can't. CLI API. Okay, what's an API? API demos online for cyber security, that kind of thing. So aptly named Huntress. That reminds me, Pope's poem Windsor Forest. Yes, good. My memory is working all right. That's again from years and years ago, by the way. So Huntress. Study free Huntress managed by SAT trial to time. I don't know what SAT is, and I don't have to know. That's what I said about. That's what I feel about. Um, so SQL. I said sequential query language, something like query language. I'm right. It's a structured query language. So anyway, make life miserable for hackers and give your admins and learners something to smile about with engaging security awareness training that actually works. Great, that'd be a great thing. Yeah, there's a free trial. You can, I mean, use it well. If there's a free trial, use it well. Otherwise, you'll be wasting the trial, and you'll be wasting such a um, precious resource. Yeah, enough of Huntress and Windsor Forest and wild things. So, API demos for cybersecurity, API demos for AI. I don't know. I'm just giving you a gap fill. That's all it is. Okay, I'm not. I'm giving you the grammar, and you can be as creative as you like. So, if you want to learn a language fast, what would you learn? The grammar or the vocabulary or both, or things like that. Okay. Servers. Coming back to servers. So, what's cloud? What's cloud? And people are going off the cloud, making their companies making their systems closed instead of open. So this is also a trend that is related to globalization and then anti-globalization, and we could talk about that, but that's for later. So sign up for an account, navigate Cloud Manager, create your first Linode, create additional services, instant billing, create your first Linode. Let's see what this is like. Creating a Linode, setting up and securing a Linode, choosing a data center, choose data center. Dedicated CPU, shared CPU, high memory, GPU, accelerated. So many options there, so many things to go through before you actually. I mean, that's where you make those decisions. And this video is design planning what you're going to do with your machine and so on and so forth. I've made a video that's months ago, and go through it, and you'll see where it fits. Great. So choose a plan, set the label, create password, SSH keys, enable or disable disk encryption, assign to a VPC, firewall, VLAN, additional options, deploy the node. Right. So many things. Right. So of course I can't go through all of this here, but there you are. That's where you start. And server types. I'll I'll just cut it short and give you pictures. Okay. So I love this one. Yeah. So this is more again not millennial, for example. Database server, application server, web server, mail server, DNS server, FTP server. Okay. Apache web server, IIS web server, Nginx web server, Lightspeed web server. So how are they? I mean, what is this all about, right? So that's software. The second one is Microsoft Server. Nginx is it's written in C. I don't know if Apache is also is written. I think it's yeah, whatever it is. I think it's PHP, Apache, and then Apache's Tomcat must be variant or whatever it is. but Apache Tomcat is for some dedicated specialized thing, I think, if I remember it correctly. But that's Sun Java. Sun is the company that came up with Java. So that's to me it sounds like trivia because either I know a lot about the subject or it's I mean it's like general knowledge, right? So again, how much would you learn? That is another one. And generic knowledge has to be, I mean, of use. Otherwise, what are you doing with it? Web server, email server, fax server, FTP server. That's more information. So web server, email server, fax server, FTP server, news server, streaming server, internet relay chat server. That's your Yahoo Messenger, for example, and all a, a flurry of messengers. Let's call it flurry is the right word. I used spree the other day. That wasn't correct again. Groupware servers. That's a first for me. I don't know what groupware server is. List server, file server, telnet server, database server, proxy server. I can talk about a few of them and. Um, Call it a day. So, database server. What I would like to tell you is, first of all, local server versus production server. So, local server is something that you can use to organize your own files. You can use to organize your own resources. It can be any type of file. Depends on how complex you are prepared to. I mean, how what complexity you're able to handle. You're prepared to handle, and what the need is, and so on. So you can have a local server on your machine and run something like Django or Flask or a Node server, anything, and you could have Jupyter as Jupyter Notebook is an example of local server. Okay, so you could have things like what's HTTP, as I've already said. Is this the correct format? Yes, it is the correct format, and that's. I mean, getting the details, but yeah, FQDN. Okay, so find out about these things. Jupyter Notebook. What's Jupyter Notebook? That's again you can. I'll give you Kaggle also. Okay, so you share these notebooks in which you write code to make computer generate text or whatever it is that you want to do with it. Google Colab, right? So yes, local server is something that you can use to have a website of your own on your own machine. Then, if you want that website on the how should I put it? If you want the website in public, you have it deployed, so to speak, on a physical server. And today, because we have virtual servers, we don't need physical servers. So Linode, what I've given you here, that's cloud computing. It's a virtual server. Okay. For a physical server, you have to first know what you're doing with the physical stuff. Because you need to buy a machine, you need to dedicate a room, you need to supply electricity 24/7, and there are other requirements without which you cannot have a server in public. So that's your own machine, and you can. There are, of course, there are advantages and everything. There is security. There is static IP address. There is this thing about make in India, right? If you give it out to someone else, that's not make in India, and there's a whole lot of things that can be said about this, and I cannot go into all of that right now. But virtual servers versus physical servers, you could read about this. You could read about this here on Tech Target or wherever you want to read about. But the point is, virtual servers is what you want to use before you actually get to a point where you absolutely need a physical server, and then you are prepared to have one. And as I've said, you will require a room first of all. It can be a very small room, but it has to be a room for a physical server, and it can be a headless terminal. So you wouldn't need a display device. There will be no headless terminal. Will be it's a particular headless server. What is it called? Yes, headless servers. So it's just racks and racks of these things. It's like a PSTN, if you know what PSTN is. So, yeah. So go about this, and it's like, again, how much will you learn? Okay. So headless servers, and then that technology has evolved over time, and you can see Raspberry Pi and these things here. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about. That's one thing. That's an example of what we're talking about when we are looking at Internet of Devices, Internet of Things. Okay. Okay. Nice. So Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone, Arduino. There's something called PCDuino as well. These are single board computers, and you can have your own server on a Raspberry Pi. You can have your own server on your Windows or Linux laptop or any desktop or whatever computers that you use. You can have your own headless server, so on and so forth. Arduino is the easiest, I suppose. Arduino, Raspberry Pi are the most popular ones because of the ease of use. So you just plug and play, as they say. Okay. Yes. So coming back to this, FTP server, that is files. You want files transferred. Mail server is SMTP. SMTP. You can write your own mail server. You can write your own simple mail transfer protocol based server. And what will be required of you is to take care of spam and a lot of added overhead because of artificial intelligence. Okay. So previously we had robots scanning your website, robots scanning my website. That's robots.txt. So that's computer programs asking for pages, asking for logins, asking for all sorts of resources from my website that I don't want to give these people because they're unauthorized and so on, or these computer programs because the programs are unauthorized and so on. And then there are AI powered robots. So it's getting more and more menacing. Okay, menacing is the word. By the way, yes, exactly. So that's it for this one. On this note, I'd like to conclude. We will continue talking about servers. I hope I've given you some food for thought. I hope it will be of use to you in some productive way. We'll talk about LibriVox and other resources some other time. LibriVox was where I came into contact with. Because of LibriVox, I came into contact with Audacity. What's Audacity? Okay. Anyway, that's it for today. We will discuss servers some other time. I have not been able to discuss them, but yes, I will put all of what I've said in text form as well in the video description. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.